Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today, we're jumping into some malicious compliance. Our first story today comes to us from Throw. Oh, wait, no. We won't talk to anyone except for the name on the account. Let's jump right in. This took place about 15 years ago and involved a large corporate banking entity. I forget the name of it, but for the sake of this story, let's call it Fells Wargo. It may not truly be malicious compliance. It took some creative thinking outside of the box, prompted by their own phrasing. You be the judge. There are some important parts that come into play. 1. My spouse and I were young and dumb financially. We both had bounced a few checks on our own checking accounts. They were closed a few years prior. 2. Wells Fargo offered a way to rehab your checking account history. They offered you the opportunity to pay them an additional $10 a month to have the right to have a checking account. They restricted the release of funds and made life difficult to even have a checking account, but if you played by their rules, you could graduate to a traditional checking account after a year. 3. I participated in the opportunity checking and graduated my account. My spouse had lived without a checking account for a few years and wanted to try again. 4. I took my spouse to Fells Wargo. We specifically explained their previous history and specifically asked for the crappy checking rebuilding account. We knew my spouse needed to start at the bottom. 5. The manager of the branch enters the basic information and declared there was no need for the rehab checking account. They qualified for the regular account. We asked again to be absolutely sure. Yes, no rehab needed. Here's some starter checks. Your ATM card will be in the mail in a week. Gladly took an initial cash deposit of $500. Fast forward a week, we get the ATM card. Call to activate it. Your account has been closed. Why? We determined you have bad checking history previously. We go round and round about how we covered this, disclosed it up front, and asked for the checking rehab account. You will have to go back and open that account if you want it. We can't change the account. So they're closing the account because we needed to have the rehab checking account, the one we specifically asked for, and they refused. Facepalm. My spouse didn't know what to say, so we got on speakerphone. I started asking questions. So will you pay the outstanding checks and refund the rest? No, we won't pay any checks. You'll be charged for return checks from your merchants. My spouse wrote 3 checks totaling less than $100. Very few places accepted starter checks. They have the funds in the closed account to pay them. Where is the issue? We don't do that. At this point, they became flustered. Nobody seems to ever have the funds or the audacity to demand them to pay checks written in good faith. They had no answers on how they refused the checking account we requested and would have been okay to have. They didn't think they had a responsibility to notify us the account was closed. And how dare we challenge their policy? They didn't like how I kept pointing out how there wasn't a single thing we did wrong, but they think they are not responsible for return check fees. So they decided to not talk to me any longer. They hung up. We call back, repeat. Finally, they offered this gem. We won't talk to anyone except the name on the account. Click. Their only possible choice to avoid a difficult discussion where they own their mistakes was clinging to not letting someone else ask questions with the account holder's permission. They even refused to let me tell my spouse what to ask and respond to my spouse directly. Can only talk to the name on the account? Okay. So I called back. Miraculously, in 60 seconds, I now identified as a different person. Thanks for calling Fells Wargo. May I have your name? Spouse's name. Long pause. You aren't spouse's name. Sure I am. Ask me anything. Name, social security number, address, mother's maiden name, date of birth. Verified it all as the name on the account. Long pause. No, you aren't spouse's name. Why do you say that? Because you're a man. Wait a minute. That's why you closed my account? Because I'm a man? I'm pretty sure that's against ECOA, maybe Regulation B, laws stating discrimination on gender is illegal. Banks can't reference gender or other protected classes to close accounts. Please hold. A manager finally comes on. We have a little back and forth about who I identify as. But seeing how I'm not doing anything except demanding they pay checks on my spouse's account, written by my spouse, with funds in their possession, there isn't much they can fight. But they finally agree to pay the 3 checks from the funds in the account. They didn't want to, even in the end, but the name on the account demanded it. Fallout? They had to do the right thing after wasting hours fighting it. I've spent a lot of time myself working at call centers in the past, and I know if somebody was able to call in and verify everything on the account, I wasn't going to make the judgment whether they sounded like they were that person's name or not. If you're a Jennifer, but you sound like a Dave, that's not my problem. If you can verify the account, Jennifer, I'm going to talk to you, no problem. Do me a quick favor, have a look down below the video. If that subscribe button's still red, it means you're not actually subscribed to the KCC channel. Please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories. Our next story today comes to us from Undecided MN. Can't have white rope lights to celebrate Christmas? Okay, get ready for the color explosion. Let's jump right in. About 20 years ago, my wife and I had just gotten married, and we rented a condo where all the windows and sliding doors faced the parking area. My wife, to celebrate our first Christmas as a married couple, put a white rope light on the railing on our 2-foot grilling area. It was a nice little gesture. That night, we went out to dinner, and when we came home, found a letter under our door. The letter read, "All holiday lights must be removed immediately from the exterior portion of the condo. Christmas or other religious lighting is against HOA policy, and failure to remove can result in fines and other legal actions." My wife felt horrible, and I couldn't believe it. The owner of the condo had left a copy of the HOA regulations, and I found a nice little loophole. Apparently, they could regulate lights on the exterior and balcony and grilling area, but not lights inside the condo. Game on. I took my wife immediately to the big box hardware store and picked up 2 fake Christmas trees, about 2,000 colored lights, a light ball, and whatever holiday decorations I could find. Our condo had 3 windows and the sliding glass door. I filled up each one of those windows with lights, crisscrossing around the inside of the perimeter of the window, and one had the LED ball hanging in the center. The sliding door had the Christmas tree in full view, completely covered in lights and ornaments. Also, the sliding doors were full of Christmas lights. My electric bill must have tripled. When you came into the parking lot of the condo complex, you saw a beacon of light full of Christmas spirit. You probably could see the condo from orbit, and nothing could be said by the HOA snitch. Apparently, at the next board meeting, a proposed rule change was brought up to limit the amount of holiday lighting being shown through windows. It was quietly pointed out by another HOA board member that was an attorney that you probably could not regulate activities inside a person's dwelling. I moved out before next year, but I never received another notice. There was a comment down below this one that was another way this could have been handled, and I absolutely love it. It says, "These? Oh no, these are not Christmas lights. I'm atheist. These are Thanksgiving lights. Happy holidays, by the way." Our next story today comes to us from Mexican 000. If you don't like it, sue me. Okay, let's jump right in. So, a bit of background, I was a dumb college kid and in a mixer met the cousin of a classmate. We hit it off, started seeing each other, and when the red flags started going up, was looking for a way out. Except we weren't as careful as we should have been, and she wound up getting pregnant. Was not super excited about the news, but figured I had to take responsibility and at least try to make it work. Stuck with her throughout her pregnancy, was there when my kid was born, would wake up at ungodly hours to feed and change her, but still, the writing was on the wall. Things came to a head, and I finally told her I could not take it anymore. I'd happily take responsibility for my kid, but no way in hell was I spending any more of my time with her. She took it about as well as one could expect, and I didn't see my kid for a few months. All this while I was working 12-hour shifts. I just gave zero craps. Got a lawyer involved, got a child support agreement in writing, could see my kid on the 1 weekend off a month I got. That was that. Years go by, kid grows, I change jobs, but we still adhere to the old agreement. Except that when mom gets mad or is in a bad mood, she won't bring my kid. Or starts just spewing crap through messages. And at first I took it, but as the years went on, it started to get really old and hella annoying. So my kid is now 5 and COVID hits, and the mom starts saying how she's not gonna bring my kid because of the risk, and I agree, except I eventually find out she's taking her out to parties and playdates and stuff, so it's not so much about her not exposing my kid, as it is me not seeing my kid. I confront her, argument ensues, and she says those magic words, "I'm not taking her to see you, and if you don't like it, sue me." Okay then. I get a lawyer who specializes in family matters, and even though in my country it is very difficult to gain custody from the mother, I have a pretty strong case. Mind you, at this point, I didn't want full custody since her maternal grandparents obviously loved and cared very much for her, and she for them, and I had no intention of putting her through that. But it could be used as a leverage point. So we go ahead with the custody battle, and her mom just absolutely loses her crap, telling me how could I do this? Why am I not thinking about our kid? To which I just reply with the screenshot of her telling me to sue her. So during the time that the custody battle goes on, my kid is remanded to my care, and her mother cannot take her or visit. And let me tell you all, these months were great. Our relationship definitely grew stronger. Got to teach her the alphabet. Yes, she did not know it when I saw her. Got to show her my musical tastes, some heavy metal stuff, which is something she would have never been exposed to. It was great. The hearings were dragging on, and even though there were screenshots and photos of her being abusive and denying visitation, my lawyer told me it was not likely to go my way. But we got to leverage that for a better ironclad agreement and decided to not prolong it further. Apparently, custody battles can go on for months or upwards of a year. So now, instead of once a month, I see her every other week, plus school vacations, plus holidays. She lives in a different city 3 hours away, so seeing her more often was not feasible. Plus guaranteed video calls, plus being informed of anything that goes on with her development, doctor, dentist, and school. Now, my kid and I share stuff with each other that we did not do before, and she is much more excited to spend time with me. As for her mother, she is much more civil now, takes great care of what she does and says, and I doubt will dare me to do anything ever again. There was some pretty good advice down below about things that you should and shouldn't say to your kid when you've gone through a divorce. It says, only thing I'll say, and you seem pretty mature, so this is more for insurance, is don't say anything bad about mom in front of your daughter. As an albeit much older child of divorce, it took me a long time to figure out what was actually going on, since I was hearing so much negativity from both sides. Let your daughter figure things out for herself. Don't put ideas in her head about the way the world works. Now, I agree with this comment for the most part, but if you hear something about an unsafe situation that your kid is in, then obviously you need to bring it up and you need to find out more information about what's going on to take the appropriate measures. But ultimately, the rest of it is true. You really don't want to talk too much about what's going on in their home life situation. You just want to make your place a nice, comfortable retreat for them to get away from the crazies that might be happening back at home. Our last story today comes to us from Mike MOJC. Try to pile on more work to increase your bonus? Not going to happen. Let's jump right in. I oversee a team of a dozen folks when it's fully staffed. We had a fellow move out of state for school, a lady retire to care for her grandkids when her daughter got sick, then 3 people promote up within the organization, all within 4 weeks of time. So almost half the team suddenly became unavailable. While I'm involved in the recruiting and onboarding process, management up to 3 levels above me tends to be a bottleneck. Each time someone will let me know they were moving on, I informed management and gave them a running total. We're at 84% staffing, we're at 66% staffing, etc. Ads were placed, first round interviews conducted by me and a team lead, second interviews recommended to the next level of management, and that's where the process suddenly stopped. For a week, then 2, then 3. It commonly takes 2 to 3 weeks after hire to bring a new person up to speed to start being productive, and perhaps 8 weeks for a new person to reach 90 to 95% of median productivity goals. The existing team was ready to pull together and work harder to keep up with the work, but I took each one aside and coached them that the heavy workload that they were under was not their problem to solve. Yes, customers were complaining. Yes, other groups in the organization were getting frustrated that our team wasn't getting things done in a timely fashion. I encouraged them to work efficiently and well, but to not put in extra unpaid time or contribute their own resources to projects. And if anyone was insistent in their complaints regarding the team's productivity, send them to me and I would explain the situation. Middle and upper management across the organization started vocalizing about how little work was getting done. When I played the Uno reverse card that, hey, all we need is adequate, well-trained staff, and we'll be able to keep up, and managers 1, 2, and probably executive 1 all have potential interviewees on their desk for almost a month. Now, I started getting the stink eye from those folks. I found out later that one or a couple of those folks that I report to and were also the next rungs in the hiring ladder had proposed the idea that this team could run just as well a little leaner, so they arranged to find out. Oopsie daisy. Metrics indicated that organizational goals weren't met because of their decision, but I was able to provide the stats that proved that the team's individual goals were met, and that in many respects per-person efficiencies were improved. My team members got their bonus, middle manglement failed to achieve, so no bonus for them that year. You know, that just sounds like really efficient management. Let's get a team of 7 to do the work of 12 people, because, you know, it's not gonna burn them out or anything, they can handle it. I think OP could have sent an offer to the higher up management saying, hey, come down here, try and do the jobs yourself, and see just how much we need those extra people. But you know that would have landed on deaf ears, so I guess back to the drawing board. Check out all 4 OPs linked in the description down below. I thank you for watching, I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.